Welcome to an additional short market update. Bitcoin is making some movements once again, but in this update we'll be discussing some latest news. Before that, do not forget to subscribe beneath, like the YouTube update, and don't forget to check out my Instagram and my Twitter, where I'm also posting daily content. Finally, do not forget to check out our website, which is in the description beneath, where you can trade alongside me, but also get educated in those markets called crypto. So, the news today. We've got some news from yesterday morning, to be honest, in which Wu Blockchain and even Glassnode shows some data regarding the last active supply. So what we see on the chart here is that according to Glassnode, the number of Bitcoins held for 6 to 12 months in the past 4 months has risen sharply from 1.4 million to 3.2 million Bitcoins. This means that more Bitcoins are locked up, so they are not moving. People are actually investing in those, but there is always a critical note to this. The fact is that during the bear markets, usually people will not be selling their Bitcoins and just be holding until the bear market is done. And what we can see in 2017, 2018, after the crash, we can see that more and more Bitcoins were not moving at all, through which the total supply being held was increasing heavily because people were simply underwater. So right now we can see the exact same, while during the period of the distribution here, it remained flat. And we actually were dropping down in the total supply in the run upwards. So how can you use this? Well, when you see a certain amount of supply being dropped down heavily in a certain period or in an upwards run, it calls for the fact that people are selling their positions. So there's also data that you can use on Glassnode, which is long-term supply or long-term holder supply. That's also a copy-paste of this chart. In which you can see that the supply being held by long-term holders is decreasing heavily in an upwards run, and once it starts to correct heavily, you will see that long-term supply or long-term holders amount of Bitcoin is actually increasing heavily. So that is usually a great sign to use in the markets. If the long-term holder supply is going up, it usually means that they are accumulating. So this is an interesting chart, interesting metric that you can be using in the markets. Then second, Circle says that they are decreasing the corporate debt that they have in their structure of the company. And Circle is known for USDC. It's one of the most used stablecoins. And I know that there are some topics regarding Tether, which is that it's not backed fully. There has been some discussions regarding that topic. I'm not standing by the fact that Tether is going to go to zero, and also if it goes to zero, there are multiple stablecoins actually doing the right work. With Circle, they've got USDC, and they have just decreased the amount of corporate debt. And by committing to the lowest risk financial instruments on the planet, Circle is abruptly reversing direction in its reserve policy. This means that in May, it expands its pool beyond cash and cash equivalents to include unsecured corporate bonds and commercial paper, which are ultra short-term debt instruments. Yet now they are bringing down the corporate debt, or it's no longer enough for them. So they want to use lower risk assets for their reserves to be built up in order to sustain the sustainability of the stablecoin USDC. And I think that's a great step forward. And when we get towards great steps forward, Celcius is the first CeFi or DeFi platform to cross 20 billion assets under management. So Celcius is known for the fact that you can stake stablecoins there, for instance, just like BlockFi, all those companies that probably will be accelerating quite fast. It's a crypto lending platform, and right now it's got more than 20 billion in digital assets, making the company one of the largest in decentralized finance. So when you look at the price, that is step one, but the fundamentals is step two. The more and more money is being locked up in Ether or in other platforms or in staking or in DeFi in itself, it means that you will be seeing further strength of the markets overall. at a later point. So fundamentally it's accelerating, and it shows that there is more strength coming to the markets and bigger parties are actually joining the market. So what we also can see that in the latest announcement from yesterday, Celcius said its holdings had grown more than 1900% in less than a year, from 1 billion to 20 billion. And that's what we see with the markets overall. It's accelerating quite fast. So that is the news for today. Let's bring up the charts, in which we can see that Bitcoin is making a green candle after a corrective day. Daily chart remains the exact same at this point, in which Bitcoin is still facing resistance at 51k. We've discussed it multiple times. I'm not seeing any breakthrough at this point. Sometimes it's just range bound trading. The support is also quite clear. I've made it this color, but actually I'm going to look at the area that we have here around 44k. I think that if this small block that is currently sustaining as support, I thought we were going to drop beneath it, but it is, as a matter of fact, acting as support. If that is lost, then I'm going to look at 44k next. So what are we looking at right now with Bitcoin at this stage? Well, we've seen that we got rejected at resistance here at 48.5. That is breaker 1. If 48.5 or 48.6 breaks, the next hurdle to take is the recent lower high. So the area around 49.5 and 48.6 are two very important levels to break through. If those break, we can start looking for a new high once again, and then we might be getting a scenario where we see such a structure. So we break up, we correct. So here we break up, we correct, run back up, make a distribution pattern here, and correct down even more. So I'm still not seeing the markets being ultra bullish at this point, unless we flip 51k. Good bounce today, but if you look at altcoins, I still would be looking at altcoins that didn't move at all, and not altcoins that have been going 5 or 6x. So 48.6 and 49.5 are the levels to watch. Support right now for Bitcoin is 47. If that is holding, that is fine. Then we might be looking at those new highs. If that is not holding, I'm looking at 44k. So I hope you have enjoyed this small update. I'll be back tomorrow with a fresh new one.